A very good morning to you, and thank you so very much for listening to FlowFM 92.7. Well, thank you if you're listening via terrestrial radio 92.7 megahertz. And if you're listening via the world, well, we say hello and welcome to the headline news analysis. It's part of the Flow Breakfast Show that gives us the opportunity to review, analyze trending national headlines. We're brought to you at 7 o'clock. So you have a chance to join in the conversation as well, too. It's not limited to the studio, but we'll give you a chance and the opportunity to debate, discuss, and also share your views as some of these soon to be touched stories. And the number to call is 0807 777 9927, 0807 777 9927. Or maybe as you flip through the pages of the national newspapers this morning, you come across a story that is hot, and then you want to pass comment on them, or you want to bring it forward to the public notice or attention. Or please, you're free as well too outside the stories that we have highlighted this morning. But please note that such stories must be from credible sources, and of course, it must be verifiable, as we'll give no room for fake news, logical fallacies will not be entertained on the program. You're absolutely free to criticize, but we'll appreciate it if those criticisms are constructive enough this morning. Again, the number is 0807 777 9927. If you're listening outside the country, please include international dialing code +234. My name is Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for listening to the headline news analysis. To remind you that we are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube at FlowFM 927. The views to be expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or the staff therein, but is expressed by our in-house analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
How are you doing today, and how was the weekend?
Oh, fine, thank you. It was beautiful.
All right, that's wonderful. Let's get into the stories. We were going to pick up one from Friday last week that is quite really, really important, and we should just talk about it. And that's concerning the Nigerian Education Loan Fund raised concerns over a drastic 900% increase in tuition fees by 10 unnamed tertiary institutions, with charges jumping from 200,000 naira to 2 million naira. Now, my question is, now that Nelfund has warned about these strikes, do you think it could jeopardize the sustainability of the student loan funds? And how do you think this would impact access to education for Nigerian students, especially those from low-income backgrounds?
It will definitely impact. And let me say before, going further, that one of the major reasons why we consistently lose the fight against corruption is our inability to name and shame. You see, I would have expected Nelfund, if they are sure about this fact, they should name some of the institutions where things like this are happening, so as to put them on the defensive, so that they can come out and make clarification about, if there was any hike in the price of tuition fees. And I know too that most of the people who accept this are government-owned institutions who have a clear-cut billing system, a tuition fee system, which is almost, nationally uniform. Even in instances of state-owned tertiary institutions, you have a consistent template on how they place their tuition fee. So there should be no reason for any inexplicable hike, in tuition fee. So I would have expected Nelfund, to name and shame. And don't forget, this is not the first time we've seen things like this. Only recently, we talked about the issues of, money being consistently paid out and students claiming not to have gotten access to them. Just like in this instance, no names of institutions involved were not named. The only way corruption thrives, irregularities like this thrive, is when you hide the identity of the people who are doing this. Name the institution so that we can put them on the defensive. Let them come out and explain why you have those, those tuition fee, why you have those hikes. And for all intent, it could be legitimate, because I don't know whether those, tuitions were essentially for, courses like medicine, like engineering, all those high order capital-intensive law, those capital. So when you have things like that, definitely, you don't have any option, because if you go elsewhere to go and do such studies, it is much more costlier,
But would you say that is a case of desperation or mismanagement on the part of the school?
I think it's purely lack of transparency. We don't have a culture of transparency, in this country. That has always, because transparency is about being open with information. It starts from there. You know, the moment you hide information, the moment, there is a bit of, lack of clarity, in a bit or a piece of information, then of course a lot of things can happen there. A lot of hiding can happen, a lot of padding can happen, in the disbursement of funds.
0807-777-9927. Again, 0807-777-9927 is the number to call to make a comment on any of the news stories that we're bringing to you right now. And let's move to another story. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has pledged full security support for a nationwide protest by retired police officers scheduled for today over pension concerns. And now he had warned against attempts to politicize the agitation, emphasizing the need to respect rights of retirees. Okay,
well, that is quite commendable, and I sincerely hope his word turns out to be his bond in this instance, because the Nigerian police unfortunately has a poor record of managing protests, legitimate protests in Nigeria. But of course I can understand why Egbetokun is saying, because at some point he's going to be a retiree himself. So definitely, he has every reason to support, the retirees, because it's one way or the other. He's like speaking for himself when he goes on retirement. So let's hope his word is his bond. Then of course the issue of politicking, I don't think I think the politicking can happen. It will definitely happen. It is just rule out the fact, because we are talking of a situation where you have the heat up in the polity currently, because of this, people jumping ship and opposition elements revving up, their campaign against the sitting, the incumbents. So definitely you are going to have issues that do tail into politics. So that is going to happen. There is no way you can rule that out.
Well, again, this planned protest by retired police officers again speaks to the welfare and of course the treatment of some of these personnel that we have, especially with the Nigerian police. If you recall that of the NSAS protest period, these were some of the concerns raised by the organizers of that protest. Has all of that been put into consideration now?
Yeah, no. Well, I think all of that has been put into consideration. You see, even among the...
In terms of the working conditions, the welfare, and then their retirement packages.
Yeah. No, there hasn't been any remarkable improvement, even since the NSAS thing. And that has always been the problem. I recall that I did say something about doing, while in Tell magazine, there was this story that I was part of, pension scam. And essentially, it was, the biggest, the most corrupt pension, sector is that of the police, ironically. And we are talking of men who are law enforcement agents. Their own pension system is riddled with a lot of irregularities. And to a very large extent, Maina, of course, is in jail right now. Worked extensively on that. It was one of the major problems that he had. Poor management of that. That upended the process of remaking that pension system. So the police pension system has always been a very, very naughty issue to manage. And you tend to wonder why that is. And we are talking of this law enforcement. That is where you should have, every other pension system should copy suit from them. But they are the textbook case of how pension should not be managed.
All right, 0807-777-9927. Again, 0807-777-9927. Let's move to another news story this morning. The Senate has come up to one suspended Kogi lawmaker, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, against attempting to resume legislative duties before the expiration of her suspension, stating that no valid court order mandates her return. Now, the Senate emphasized that the Federal High Court only gave an advisory suggesting a review of the suspension, but still upheld the Senate's disciplinary action. He also noted that the senator has not complied with the court-imposed penalties, including a fine and a public apology, and cautioned that any attempt to re-enter the chamber will be seen as disruptive and premature.
Honestly, if we can take sentiments out of this, I think the judicial pronouncement is a bit ambiguous, and of course there might be some explanation. Let me go about it this way. The legislative arm is a separate arm of government. The judiciary too is a separate arm of government. While it is within the purview of the judiciary to interpret what the law says, you understand, it must not be seen to be interfering with the running of another arm of government. So probably Bintan Yako, the judge, had this in mind when he phrased that injunction that he gave to the, that made it look like it was in the advisory capacity, So, yes, I know that on the other side, two people believe that it was an order. But you see, I'm a bit reluctant to toe that line because, I strictly believe in the separation of power. Oftentimes I repeat this Baron Montesquieu, the man who propounded the theory of separation of power, that there must be separation of power both in spirit and in the act, of enforcing that principle. So I think the best thing for Natasha to do is to ask for clarity, from the court of law. But again, you see, there is another contradiction here. Don't forget that Akpabio has gone to appeal that case. If it's advisory, why appeal it? You see, these are some of the conundrums we face, and it speaks to the degeneration in jurisprudence in Nigeria. And that's the reason why they keep on, you have a lot of agitation about something wrong with our judicial system. It's shown where, that is, a court judge cannot come out emphatically, to remove ambiguity in something as plain, as clear as matters concerning, the right and privileges of a senator. Because I think, it's outrightly illegal to suspend somebody that has been elected because there is a kind of a qualified privilege on him as a senator. He has been elected to represent people. I think it is contradictory for a select member to summarily keep them away from representing that group of people.
All right. When this conversation first came up, you said it was going to be dragged out. And true to your words, it's being dragged out.
Of course, it will.
Some people would ask and say, instead of this continuous, banter and issues being dragged out this much, if Senator Natasha is able to, according to what the Senate is saying, do the imposed penalties, the fine, and the public apology, do you think it will die down if she does this, what they're asking?
No, I think what the Senate is asking for is beyond their ken. You see, the apology is not meant for the Senate. It was meant for the court. So it is within the right of the court to insist, not that of the Senate. Because at least I saw that part of the judgment. It was not contempt of court. It was not contempt, against the Senate law. No.
All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. What is your name and where are you calling from?
This is Kenny calling from Tanke.
Kenny from Tanke. Please go ahead with your comments, Kenny.
Good morning, Nicholas.
Good morning, please.
You see, what Nicholas has said, I just want to buttress a little on it. You see, it's so unfortunate that the system of government we run to democracy has been housed by three fundamental bodies, the judiciary, executive, and the legislative. We find all the three bodies wanting when it comes to corruption and ill appropriation of what we call judgment. I don't know, probably that is why it operates in the other world or the Western world. It is only in this country that I see a judiciary ruling or a judiciary command being said to be technical. They use technicality in apportioning judgment or apportioning blames. In the case of Natasha, it was clear. The judgment was clear. But, to confuse the layman, Binta, to confuse the layman, Binta has to put that word, that statement, to phrase it in a way that the layman would think the fault is coming from Natasha and she should go and apologize to the Senate. No, it was not to the Senate. It was just to the court house. So it's just to the judiciary. Because of probably the way and manner she presented, she filed her case initially. Now, for Natasha saying she wants to resume her duty, just as Nicola said, it is not within the judge's jurisdiction or the Senate. Okay, fine. Somebody that was elected by some certain set of people should sit outside his own jurisdiction, sit outside his own government. No. But because of the way things are in this country, which I said, that even the body that ought to control the system have not been found wanting severally. And that is why when you're a bit short, I'm sorry to say this, some of my people will say something. They say in Nigeria is a country whereby if you want to steal big so that you can be able to bail yourself out. That is what is happening. By tomorrow, that Natasha said she's going to come to court. The film will play out. We know maybe she's one that is right, or that is telling is right. God bless you and God bless your friend.
Thank you a lot, Kenny from Tanker.
Well, he's just reflected something that a friend of mine used to say, in that the poor man is the workshop where laws are tested. The moment where you see, like he rightly said, I'm a bit. I think that judgment is a bit dubious.
Sorry to botch you. Let's take this call again. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, Michael from Ilorin.
All right, Michael, please go ahead.
Good morning to Mr. Nicholas.
Good morning, please.
Okay, so let me start with the Natasha issue. I think the judgment of Justice Binta Yako is so clear. First, the issue around apology has to do with there was a court order restraining all the parties that since you brought the matter to us, restrain yourself from making any public statements. And it was proven by the counsel for the Senate President that after that order, Senator Natasha made a Facebook post. So it's based on that the judge fined her and ordered her to make a public apology to the court, not to Senate. Now, to the issue around her resumption, Senator Natasha was the first that appealed that judgment. She appealed the part of the fine and a public apology, while the Senate President also appealed the fact that, look, Justice Binta Yako said, look, Senate were too excessive. She didn't say they were wrong in suspending her, but according to their rules, they have, I think, is it 3 months or a few weeks? That's the only power they have to suspend. That they were being excessive. So invariably, she gave it back to the Senate that, look, go back to the books and follow your rules. That's what it means. So I'm of the opinion that I think this whole thing would have been sorted out internally. There's no how. It's just like this PDP issue and the rest. You not get, it has to be a political resolution. They're coming to NELFON. NELFON is a very good agency of government, and so many people have benefited. It's unfortunate that people are not even talking about it. We have students benefiting 20,000 naira per month, apart from the tuition fee. I think the only outstanding they are owing them is June and July. So I think they need to quickly bring up mechanisms so that most of these institutions will not go overboard by just increasing things arbitrarily. And also, the same way they've set up a portal for employees in a few years' time to check the loan status of these students, they should set up a portal to monitor all these people. And institutions cannot just wake up. There should be a process before they can increase fee by at least writing a message to the NELFON group. So to me, I feel this text needs to be put in place so that we don't have excessiveness from the institution. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for your comment.
Well, like he rightly said, for me, I still insist that Yako should have been clearer, about things like that, because there are certain things, when you have done the kind of job I do for, going to 30 years now, there are certain languages that you say they are declarative, So there are some advisory components in that, in what the judge has said. And the thing about law is black and white. Mm-hmm. It's either yes or no. There is no middle ground about it. And I think that is that loophole is what the Senate is trying to capitalize on.
All right. Let's take another call. Hello, good morning. Okay. Lost that call. Let's also. Are you done with your? Okay. All right, let's move to another conversation. The People's Democratic Party has condemned the assassination attempt on its Anambra governorship candidate, Chief Jude Ezenwafo, who was ambushed by gunmen in Abuja. The party has called on the IGP to arrest the attackers and also their sponsors, while also urging heightened security for the governorship candidate for the November 8th election.
Well, I don't. This is it's a political season. Already from what they are saying, they are insinuating that it's the political opponents that are responsible for that. And, given the level of insecurity you have in Anambra State, it could have been any one of them, or non-gunmen, the bandits, or anybody, or a will-be kidnapper who wanted to pick him up and, make some capital out of it. So it could be any way. I think they should have been better phrased, because these are some of the things we keep on talking about our politics. We tend to politicize virtually everything. It is a very serious matter, and I think that comment should have been phrased in a better way, Everything need not be politics.
All right. Well, still on the Anambra elections, more like 3 months to the election or thereabout, November 8th.
Yeah.
Is the day, fixed for the governorship election in Anambra State. And of course, Professor Charles Soludo, who is seeking, re-election for the second term in office. We have, the Labour Party are also there, Mogalo. We have the APC candidate, and then you have that of, by the way, Soludo's of the ABGA. And then you have the PDP's candidates who apparently, got, assassination attempt was made on his life. But again, will he be able to continue? That's the first question in all of this as they run up to, campaigns, which is officially opened. Now, this is coming, too early during the campaigns. What do we expect? What should we prepare for? As a country, and of course, watch on, Anambra election.
Like I said, there are too many factors, variables, in the mix in Anambra State to, think it is politically connected. I don't want to see it that way first. Because number one, the candidate is, for me, as far as I'm concerned, this is my opinion, I think it's paperweight. You see, if an attempt had been made on Moghalu, for instance, of course, Moghalu is a very big figure politically. He's been in politics, he knows the terrain very well. He has the capacity, he has a lot going for him. Then, of course, if it were APC, because of federal might and things like that, then we might start saying that, okay, maybe there is a bit of political undertone. But the PDP in Anambra State is docile. It's been APGA all the way. So, for now, it appears that, for me, that is from what I'm saying, it appears that Soludo is going to cruise home to, victory. I think it's going to be one of the least contested elections, if you ask me.
Just the same way he was unchallenged during their primaries.
No, he was.
371, votes.
Yeah, he was. Because you look at the figures, you have Uba, Ifanyuba, late Ifanyuba on the one hand, Valentine Ozibo.
Yes,
who came with a lot of clout, a lot of, if Valentine Ozibo had, got the ticket on APC platform, then we can talk of a keen contest coming up. But then again, you see why it appears as if ABGA won by that large margin was the Obi factor. And you see, I know a lot of people don't want to talk about things like that. It was the Obi factor. In fact, it was all about Obi during the governorship debate. Go back to that video and look at it. He was telling you that this is what ABGA has done, that this is under Peter Obi, they did this, they don't Peter Obi, they did it. Then, of course, Obiano, yes, he has a measurable, he did something, he did a lot of improvement too. But, of course, there were issues on money management and things like that. He didn't manage the resources of Anambra State as well as his predecessor, but he had at least some appreciable, outcome, at the end of the election period. So, it was the Obi factor. But in this instance now, it is clear that Soludo is no longer with Obi, with his comments and things like that. So ordinarily, if there had been a heavyweight, you understand, then we will be, the whole place will be charged. But as it is right now, either by political brinkmanship, the man has been able to ensure that the quality of people that came on board to want to contest with him are not the kind of people ordinarily that carries a lot of clout. What you are going to see, what I predict you are going to see in that election is you are going to see a lot of voter apathy. People will not, because the kind of, candidates they want to see are not there.
All right, but let's quickly take one more question on this, and before we take comment from the people. Now, the incumbent governor, former CBN, governor, again, how would you assess his performance in the last, 3.5 years or 4 years of his first term in terms of education, in terms of health, and in state infrastructure?
Don't even go far. He has thoroughly underperformed. Let us be very clear. There is, look, see.
And then how easy will it now be for him to cruise home?
Oh, definitely.
If an Ambrans understand these indices.
No, you see, the thing is this. See, look, normally, what Anambra will go for is the lesser evil. That's what they will go for. You see, the thing is this. You see, why I said he underperformed is, you see, Soludo came with a lot of expectation. A former CBN governor, a scholar of international repute. He's been there. He has consistently chased that particular office. He was with PDP. He contested. He didn't get it. He worked with Obiano. He has shown that he needed that job so badly. So one would have expected that a man coming with such credential will outperform every other governor that has been there. That was the expectation. There was something, if you recall, during the 2023 election, there was this thing he came out and said, Obi did not do this, Obi did not do that. Look at the simple response that Obi gave him. He said, look, I'm a simple trader. You are a professor. If you come to a school that I have not done the roofing, please, my brother, go ahead, do it. So it's a simple challenge that every voter out there are waiting for him to do. Now, look, if you talk in terms of performance in the Southeast, there are 2 governors. Well, let me say 3 governors that, that are sterling. One, Oti of Abia State, Alex Oti. The second is the Enugu State Governor, Mba, PDP. Then the third one is Uzodinma. Yeah, Uzodinma has See, look, I think he's the most underreported governor in the Southeast, and particularly it's because of his controversial nature. He comes in with a lot of controversy. Everybody knows him. They know his background. I know him personally. So that is why people are not hasty to praise him in anything. But you need to see the level of infrastructure that he has done, the things that he has created in Ilorin. You understand? But when you are talking of performing governors, Soludo is not mentioned. This is because there was so much expectation on him, but rather than facing the job, he's been going about politicking. He's been about demolishing, the image of Obi, and that has undone him, his credibility,
All right. Well, our time is fast spent. I'll pick up this conversation again tomorrow, God willing. But let me squeeze in this message we got from Facebook real quick. This is from Gentle Terry. It says, regarding the police protest, I support it 100%. How can someone put his life on the line and after 35 years he's being paid 3 million naira? And our politicians are there receiving millions of naira monthly with little or no meaningful projects that affect the masses positively. The Police Service Commission and PENCOM need